Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for the invitation to perform the launching of this two-day advanced training workshop for journalists for business advocacy. All over the world, business and financial journalists are increasingly becoming an important fixture of the monetary policy communications process, acting as channels for major policy announcements to financial markets and to the public. Ghana is no different. Therefore, the chosen theme for this training workshop on monetary policy tools for economic development, we think it's timely and appropriate, and will offer the participants with a deeper understanding of monetary policy's role in economic development. I see that my colleagues, Mr. Francis Lolo and Dr. Osei Yeboah, would be talking on monetary policy and financial stability this morning, but I will try to present an overview, and after that you can send all the questions to them. I will not take any questions this morning, but just to provoke the discussions before they do their presentation. As you're aware, it's been 60 years since the Bank of Ghana was set up, with a number of significant changes occurring in our operations. To strengthen the central bank in the conduct of monetary policy, Parliament passed into law the Bank of Ghana Act 2002, that is Act 612. This act gave operational independence to the bank and guarantees the bank a fair amount of autonomy in implementing monetary policy and in handling its general issues of governance. In the new legal dispensation, the primary objective of the bank is to maintain price stability. This has refocused the central bank on the major task of inflation control, indirectly away from developmental activities which characterized the bank's operations in the past. To accomplish this, Act 612 mandated the formation of a monetary policy committee responsible for formulating monetary policy, which has brought transparency to the central bank's operations and its communications with the public. The new statutory mandate of the bank is firmly rooted in a resurgence of public interest in economic policy, a heightened aversion for inflation, and awareness of how much economic stability contributes to raising the standard of living of its people. You may ask, why is price stability so important in economic development? Price stability offers the strong foundation to facilitate growth and development. Price stability, in this case, achieving and maintaining a low and stable inflation regime, reduces uncertainty and helps economic agents to extract information from relative prices, thus leading to a more efficient resource allocation and higher growth. By controlling inflation through effective monetary policy formulation, the Bank of Ghana makes the best contribution that it can to the sustainable long-term growth and economic development of the country. Inflation is a potent destructive force. Our own experience of the 1970s and 1980s bear testimony to that. High and variable inflation creates incentives for misallocation of resources and uncertainty, which makes it difficult for firms, consumers, and savers to make decisions. Inflation shortens the horizon for business planning, raises the cost of acquiring capital, and lowers capital accumulation. Inflation leads to arbitrary and inequitable redistribution of incomes and serves as a tax on incomes and hits hardest at the low-income groups, especially the poor. I believe in all of this we can say that there is an established consensus that no lasting benefits can accrue from high inflation. The monetary policy framework of the Bank of Ghana under inflation targeting determines the principles by which the policy committee decides on how to set its policy instrument, in our case, the monetary policy rate. In this sense, the monetary policy has constrained discretion in doing this to the extent that it has to approach its decision-making with the appropriate caution born out of our imperfect knowledge of the economy and the effects of policy. In conducting stabilization policy, the central bank must maintain a strong commitment to keeping inflation and hence public expectations of inflation firmly under control. Because monetary policy influences inflation with a lag, keeping inflation under control may require that the central bank is able to anticipate future movements in inflation and move preemptively. The framework places heavy weight on the maintenance of low and stable inflation, which is a key element of a successful monetary policy regime. The rationale goes beyond the direct benefits of price stability for economic efficiency and growth. Maintenance of price stability and the central bank's strong reputation for and commitment to it also serves to anchor the private sector's expectations of future inflation. Well-anchored inflation expectations, by which we mean that the public continues to expect low and stable inflation, even if actual inflation temporarily deviates from its expected level, not only makes price stability much easier to achieve, but also increases the central bank's ability to stabilize output and employment. I should note that inflation targeting cannot be effective in delivering low inflation, that is, serve as an effective nominal anchor, without a responsible fiscal policy and effective prudential supervision to maintain financial stability. The macroeconomic policy framework must therefore be coherent with monetary and fiscal policies, complementing each other to drive the economy onto the low and stable inflation path. The IT framework is demanding and requires rigorous analysis of data that has become available, covering assessments of external conditions, fiscal, monetary, exchange rates, balance of payments, real sector, banking sector, price developments, and inflation forecasts from a suite of models. These are critically examined to establish the state of current economic conditions and its likely trajectory in the period ahead. The assessments focus on the implications of aggregate demand and supply conditions on prices. The MPC has to examine the risks to inflation and growth and then position the key policy rate to restore any imbalance in these two key variables within the forecast horizon. This clearly shows that the IT framework requires judgment and also takes into consideration concerns about output and employment. The framework has served the Bank of Ghana well over the past decade. It has helped to lower inflation and inflation volatility as well as exchange rate variability. Prior to the implementation of the framework, the rates of inflation was highly volatile, hovering around 40%, but has since declined significantly, and we are now edging closer to the medium-term target of 8 plus or minus 2%. Madam Chairman, apart from the mandate of ensuring price stability, the central bank is expected to ensure effective and efficient operation of the banking and credit systems to enhance allocation of resources to the productive sectors of the economy. The Bank of Ghana has recently rolled out a comprehensive financial sector reform plan to further develop, strengthen, and reposition the sector as a major growth driver. Some of the measures taken so far include the revocation of licenses of insolvent banks to safeguard the potential spillover threat on the financial sector, but also investigations into the reasons leading to the collapse of the two banks, and using these findings to guide policy on the current financial sector reform plan. The institution of a roadmap to recapitalize banks in accordance with the capital restoration plans, which has so far been progressing satisfactorily. The upward revision of the minimum capital requirement for existing banks and new entrants. The upcoming introduction of a risk-based capital requirements regime under Basel II and Basel III framework, as well as enhancing prudential regulations, governance structures of banks, and macro-prudential oversight to support a stronger and more sophisticated financial system. In the microfinance sector, the bank is strengthening its licensing requirements to remove unlicensed microfinance institutions from the system. To further enhance credit delivery and impose access to financial services, the bank is working to strengthen the payment and settlement system. In February this year, the Payment System Council was inaugurated as an advisory body to support the attainment of a sound and efficient payment and clearing settlement system. These developments are working in concert to ensure that financial resources are efficiently channeled to the appropriate sectors of the economy for development purposes. Madam Chairperson, over the years, central bank operations have contributed to the country's economic progression through sound monetary management and efficient oversight of the financial sector. We will continue as our part of the forward-looking monetary policy strategies to build on macroeconomic stability, which remains critical to the overall economic growth process. The bank will deepen its collaboration with all stakeholders to resolve the macroeconomic and financial sector challenges confronting the Guinean economy. And this includes the media, which has a critical role in shaping expectations in the market and among the general public. On this note, I declare the workshop duly opened and wish you fruitful deliberations.